Creative Commuter. This is episode number 40 of the Creative Commute podcast. It is the last episode of season 2. Can you believe that we are 40 episodes in? Thank you to everyone who has come along on any part of this journey, whether you've listened to every episode or whether this is your first episode. I am so excited to be at this point, and we are going to kick off season 3 here in a few weeks. We'll have a fresh Creative Commuter call out and all kinds of other goodness. I'm so jazzed about it. But first, today, I want to talk about something that we probably need to address. Kind of an important topic that I have not dove into nearly enough in this podcast, which is the creative commute. What does it even mean to be on a creative commute? What does that mean? Well, to explain this to you, we are going to have to take a little bit of a step back. The idea for the creative commute felt like it came out of thin air. It was one of those little sparks that instantly caught the kindling and ignited into a blaze. It became a bonfire. It was as if someone was physically pushing me forward, not into the fire. I had the thought and I was instantaneously compelled into action. I knew with such clarity that it's something that had to be done in that moment. It just felt like it just appeared. But like most ideas that seem to appear like magic, I'd actually been rubbing those twigs together, trying to create a fire for quite some time. It didn't just happen overnight. Now, if you've been here along with me for this journey for a while, you know that I began the Creative Commute Facebook group at the very beginning of COVID. And if you haven't been along the journey, I'll describe, it was a time that felt so odd, so out of control. The world was falling apart. We had no control over anything. It was like, what the hell's going to happen tomorrow? Because what happened today is nuts. What is going on? And this idea struck me in the midst of that at 6 p.m. on a Sunday night. And by Monday morning, I had launched it. I wanted to gain some kind of a sense of control, of goodness, of optimism, because nothing felt good or controlled or optimistic at all. And so this idea was born to go live every day at 7:20 a.m. during what would normally be my commute time with a creative challenge, hence the creative commute. It was something that was needed. I needed it. I've since found out that many others needed it as well. In this little safe, tiny pocket of the internet, we found this little spot of magic, this little spot where we created, we laughed, we were vulnerable, we challenged ourselves to do and be all of these things during a time when it was really hard to do and be those kinds of things. And it's so interesting that 2 weeks ago, Dr. Barbara Kerr was on my podcast, and she talked about how what she does is study creative humans. And so she did a study during the pandemic with creative people. And what they found is that those who created, those who dove in and really fed and cultivated their creativity during this time were people who actually flourished. Now, I say flourish. It wasn't like they were flourishing the best in that they'd ever been in their lives. Maybe some people did, but they flourished more than they were mentally harmed during this time, during a time when the opposite, when it would be so easy to just curl up in a ball, the people who focused on their creativity really thrived. It's so fascinating. But really, is that a surprise? We needed creativity during this time. We needed to foster the things that bring us joy. And creativity, as we know, it makes us happier when we focus on the things that we love, the things that we love to do. It makes us happier. It brings us joy. And there was so little joy going on around us in 2020. I think the Creative Commute was one of those places, honestly, where people were saved. And I don't want to sound super dramatic, but I can speak on the behalf of two people who were saved by it, myself and my husband. We found parts of ourselves during that time of really focusing on and helping cultivate our creativity. We uncovered things during these little creative challenges that we were doing that we either had forgotten about ourselves, we rediscovered things, we found out new things about ourselves simply by really focusing on doing these little things that brought us happiness, these little creative things. But again, this little pocket of joy, this little thing that saved us during this time of horror, honestly, it felt like it came out of nowhere, but it came from somewhere. And that somewhere happened long, long before that Sunday night epiphany that I'd had. It had actually been a pretty long and arduous internal journey that I had been taking for months, peeling back the layers of who I was, who I'd been, and who I want to be. I asked myself this question, this very, very hard question. Who is the person I want to show up as in the world? That is a tough question, and a question that we often do not ask ourselves. I can't even remember before I asked myself this at 37 years old at the time. I'd never asked myself that question before. Who do I want to show up as in the world? I'd ask myself, what do I want to be? What do I want to do? But never, who do I want to show up as? That question, with the help of a coach and some lovely new friends, spawned the magical idea that was the Creative Commute. It was a manifestation of me really diving in and doing some internal work. And it was needed at the time. The way that it manifested was as a thing that served a purpose in the moment. Now, deep in my heart, the idea that manifested as this thing is really so much more than that. It's more than a Facebook group. It's more than this podcast. What's really driving the things that are coming out of it is this, who do I want to show up as in the world? And it's really a calling. I am called to serve, just like you are called to serve. But I am called to serve you, who is looking for something. You who feels a pull, a need, a desire, an emptiness, maybe an itch, something you can't even put your finger on. Like, what is this? I don't feel right. If that is you, you are the person that I know deep in my heart, I am called to help you see that your creativity matters. That doing what brings you joy matters. That returning to yourself, bringing joy to yourself through rediscovering that which brings joy to you really, really matters. And that's how you can figure out how you individually show up in the world. And I haven't done a great job of expressing what this podcast really means to me and what I hope it will do for you. And this all might sound very dramatic, but I mean this. I mean this from the cockles of my heart. I hope to improve upon my ability to deliver this message over time. But here's what I want you to know today. You are a creative being. And as a creative being, you have the capability to make magic. In fact, you have magic. Your brain, your hands, your words, your kindness, your joy, all of these things can create the most beautiful things in this world. And do you know this? Do you truly grasp this concept? No one else in the world is like you. There is no other person in this world who has your experiences, your thoughts, your gifts, your talents. No one else has the same combination as you. Look, I have these two friends who are identical twins, and honestly, they are similar in loads and loads of beautiful ways, but they are also fully different creative human beings. They are so different in so many ways. I go to them for different things because they're different people. So if genetics made us the same, it's just not a thing. Your unique individual mix, your custom mix of Koolaid, your unique flavor makes your personal creative abilities. You're amazing. You are truly a gift to the world. And I hope you realize that. You are a freaking creative unicorn, and do not let anyone tell you any different, especially yourself. Your creativity is you. You are your creativity. And that creativity is not applicable to one thing. You are not just a math teacher. You are not just a caricature artist. You're not just a mom or a dad or a grandma. You are all of these wonderful, beautiful things. And you get to be many things. That's the beauty of life. But what is so important about your creativity is that these things that you are, all of these things, all of these gifts that you have, they move with you wherever you go. And my goal, my mission, my heart is to help more people fully understand this, that your creativity moves with you. And your creativity is an integral part of who you are as a human being, living and breathing the air that you're breathing right now, whether you're in your office, your car, your living room, you're out on a walk right now. It is a part of you. You are on a creative journey, and you get to choose where you go on your creative commute. I was closing down. This is so funny. I was closing down the office the other day. I thought I was the last person in the office, in fact, but I'm on this Zoom call that had run over with somebody. And I see that somebody has stepped in front of this glass cubicle huddle room that I'm in, and they tapped on the glass. And I look up, and this person who I work with is just standing there with this Post-it note. And on the note, all in caps, I have no idea why this person did this. And I'm going to ask them tomorrow at work. And I'm not sure if they'll honestly give me an answer, because I think they want me to just interpret this for myself. And I will let you interpret it for yourself as well. The note said, "You're the boss." Period. That's all it said. And again, I don't know what this person intended for me to take away from that, but it really struck me. It really struck me. You are the boss of your journey. You are the boss of your personal destiny. And you have not possibly made every choice for yourself on your journey up until this point. I know I haven't. You don't make every choice for yourself. But from this day forward, you choose your creative path. You choose where you go on your creative commute. You get to choose where you go. And the cool thing is that that creativity moves with you wherever you go. If you choose a new path, you are not leaving part of yourself behind. Let me repeat that. If you choose a new path, if you choose something new, whatever as big or small as that little thing is, if you choose a new course, a new path, you are not leaving parts of yourself behind, unless there's parts that you want to leave behind. You get to decide that too. I wrote copy actually for our company's career site last year. And one of the lines that I really, really loved, and honestly, I can't remember if this line made it onto the site or not, but this line was, go where you can grow. And I just love that line. Go to the place where you can grow. Now, moving to something new is actually not always the right thing. It's not always the right option for you to like jump to something new or to take this crazy new direction. There are tons and tons of ways that you can grow right exactly where you are. And I'm actually a huge proponent of that, of growing in the place that you are. But sometimes it's time to make a big move, to go in a new direction. And that can be very scary. That can be terrifying. Because when you shift into something new, when you make a decision to cross that line, you know who pops up. You know who pops up. Our friend fear. The big F word. it pops up. It pops up. It's going to, because when you go out of your comfort zone, that is exactly what happens. In fact, it's not just one F, it's two Fs. It might be three Fs, depending how it goes for you. But failure, our least favorite F word, failure. No one wants to go off in some direction and end up in failure city. That's not what we want, right? It feels good to hang out in the zone of comfort. It feels good to stay there. I get it. I actually like to be there too. But when you start to feel a little uncomfortable, you start to feel that itch, you start to feel that pull, it's time to go where you can grow. It's time to buckle up, baby. Vroom, vroom, mofo. It is time to get moving on your creative commute. Now, again, this is the last episode of season 2 of the Creative Commute podcast. I'm taking a few weeks off to work on content, to pitch some new guests for season 3. So if you have any guests that you think I should interview, be sure to reach out to me at creativecommutegn@gmail.com, because I want to know if there's anyone who you think should be interviewed for this podcast, somebody who you want to hear from, who is fascinating to you. Please let me know. But I want you to leave this season with a little to do. Take a look at your personal journey. Where have you been on your creative commute? Where has it taken you? Where have you been so far? Where are you at right now? Are you happy where you're at? Are you ready for something new? Like, look, where are you at? Where do you want to go? Ask yourself these questions. Where have I been? Where am I at? Where do I want to go? And in season 3, we are going to focus on helping you get moving. Thank you, Creative Commuter, so much for listening to this episode. It really, truly means the world to me if you've listened to one episode or many. I'm just so thankful for you. And it really just it's amazing to me to get to share my heart and to get to talk about these topics that mean so much to me. So thank you. And if you really enjoyed this episode, leave a review of the podcast. You can do that at ratethispodcast.com/creative commute. You can send me feedback via an email at creativecommutejen@gmail.com anytime. I love hearing from you. So let me know. And otherwise, keep shining your beautiful, sparkly unicorn magic out there for the world to see. I'll see you next season. Bye.